Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my next video. Today we have got another Dungeons & Dragons class description for you. And today, from the Complete Arcane, we have the Warlock. So, what we're going to talk about today is first we're going to talk about what is a Warlock. Then we're going to talk about how you would go about playing a Warlock from a roleplay perspective. Then we're going to talk about the things that the Warlock gets. And then finally, we're going to talk about a specific thing that the Warlocks get called Invocations, because that's a huge part of what a Warlock is. And then we'll talk about how good they are and how you could potentially use them in a build, as always. So let's get started with it. So a Warlock. Well, basically, they are someone who is troubled because they have received arcane power from evil deities and dark forces, either directly through contacting them and seeking the powers as some sort of shortcut, or via these dark entities seeking them, wanting to use them as a tool. Or potentially from their ancestors who had one of these things happen to them, and they just sort of inherited this power down the generations. Regardless of how you got these powers, you have them now, and you feel the pull of these dark, evil influences at your soul, and it causes you to be a very troubled and dark individual. You can still be good, sure, but you're constantly fighting against this power. So yeah, and they use this dark power to it's like an arcane magic that isn't quite the same as spellcasting, but it is an arcane power nonetheless. And they use it in a way similar to that of sorcerers, to try to influence the world and gain benefits. So it's certainly an interesting class. Now let's talk about let's talk about their role, how you'd role play them. So these guys they're interesting. They don't like wizards and sorcerers at all. They're very much bitter rivals with them. They do respect fighters in that as well. They're usually almost always human, so okay. Their backgrounds are very, very diverse. There's a whole bunch of different ways. They actually can be quite religious. So that's an important thing for the Warlock, because they get their power from dark deities. They very much respect and understand the power of religion. Their alignment is going to be either chaotic or evil, often both. So it's very common to be chaotic evil. Yeah, so if you are playing one of these guys, you are going to be playing someone who's dark and tortured. Even if you're, a chaotic good guy who's fighting the good cause to take down the forces of evil, you still feel that pull, that dark, evil pull in your heart, and you're fighting against that every day. There's no saves or anything for that, but you feel that pull constantly, and that drives you forward to take down those forces that give you that give you the power. So yeah, it's a very interesting thing. Or you could be evil and completely give in to the powers and just be a warlock who's just on a path of destruction, destroying everything in his sight. That's definitely an option as well. But if we're talking about a player character, you're probably going to be good, or at least neutral. Chaotic neutral is certainly an option. So is chaotic good. So basically, you are going to be you're going to be doing some you're going to have that dark, brooding soul to you, and you really should be playing that up. You should, you know, even if you are good and all that, like, have that brooding soul. Like, show that, yeah, I'm fighting this evil fight. Evil doesn't faze me. I feel, I know evil. Evil is in my heart. I'm just out there, fighting the good fight to take down this evil, so that others don't have to feel what I feel. Um, that's an option too. Like, there's just make sure you play that up. And you're probably not going to like sorcerers and wizards. Probably not going to be a big fan of paladins and clerics with all their preachiness, whatever. And barbarians, you're going to be like, yeah, I can get behind these guys. But same with and even though you don't like clerics, you're probably not going to be like too against them, because, they are the healers, and you might take some damage. So yeah. Yeah, that's the role play side of them. So let's talk about what they get. There's a lot to cover. So first off, a D6 hit dice. Not great. These guys are definitely not martial characters. They have to be evil or chaotic, as I mentioned before. So that's going to really limit your alignment choices. Yeah, they get skills. Their skill points are only 2 plus int. Not great. And their skill list isn't super impressive either. So that's a bit of an issue. Their base attack bonus it's all right. They have a decent enough base attack bonus, so that's something worthwhile. They have a good will save, but bad fortitude and reflex saves. So that's much as similar to a caster. But that decent base attack bonus actually is a very big deal for these guys. Now they're also going to get weapon and armor proficiencies. They are proficient with light armor. They are also proficient with, let's see, and all simple weapons. Sorry, there's a lot to read. I did read this all right before this, but it's a very, very dense class. So they are proficient with simple weapons. So that's something. But honestly, you're probably not going to be using weapons too much. You're probably going to be relying on your Eldritch Blast a lot. You are all your invocations, including your Eldritch Blast, are subject to spell failure, just like an arcane caster. However, you are okay in light armor, so you're most likely going to be sticking to light armor, or you're going to take some feats in order to gain higher armor. Although you could always just go with mithril armor or Fey crafted mithril armor to get better armor. That's probably the way to do it, in all honesty. Let's see. So you also get a number of invocations, and there are 4 different levels. There's there's least, lesser, greater, and dark. You get 3 of each of them, basically. Starting with just 1 least, and then slowly working your way up. Getting 3 least, and then 3 lesser, then 3 greater, and then 3 dark, as you make your way up till 20th level. You are going to, these things are very important. You can switch them out, but not often, so you need to be pretty careful of your selection of these. It is a really big deal, and it is super important that you pick good ones. Yeah, we'll talk more about these once we talk about everything else that this class gets. So it also gets Eldritch Blast. That's another major thing that these guys get. I'd say second only to the Invocations. So Eldritch Blast, it's an attack that they get. It's normally a ray attack with a 60-foot radius, with a 60-foot range, that is subject to, is subject to, you have to make a touch attack with. So you are going to have to do that, and it will deal initially 1d6 points of damage, but eventually it'll make its way up to 96 points of damage. And this is usable at will, as are pretty much everything these guys get. They are all spell-like abilities, though, so they have all the downsides of that, plus the additional downside of arcane spell failures. So there's that, but everything is usable at will, and you are able to use and you are able to use feats that improve spell-like abilities from the monster manual in order to up your abilities. So that's good. Let's see. They get, but we're going to talk about these a lot more in a second. So you get Detect Magic at 2nd level, usable at will. That's pretty nice. Also a spell-like ability. It's sort of, it's not an incantation, but yeah. They get damage reduction, which is really nice. It starts out as 1, and it is against cold iron, but it does improve, I think, to what, like +5? Yeah, they get eventually 5 cold iron, which isn't bad. It's, you know, not the main thing you're looking for in this, but it's a nice little bonus on top of everything else. They get damage. Sorry, I just said damage reduction. They get something called decisive item. This is actually pretty nice. It allows them to take a 10 when using the use magic device skill. So warlocks are just particularly good at using magic devices. So very, very good. They get fiendish resilience, which is quite nice. It gives them fast healing. Initially just 1, but eventually goes up to +5. Once per day is a free action for 2 minutes, so that's actually decent. Pretty decent to be used in combat if you're having a rough go of it. You can, put that. You can, as a free action, just put that on and, suddenly start healing a little bit. Is it the greatest healing thing in the world? No. Most of the healing will come out of will come for after combat, but since it's a free action, you might as well throw it on during combat. And maybe keep yourself alive. If things get close, that extra little bit of health could be the difference between life and death. So if you suspect it's a big combat and you're gonna get hurt, it's not a bad idea to throw that on after you take on your first turn where you've taken damage, in order to keep yourself alive, assuming you don't have fast healing from some other source. So not bad at all. And it can heal you quite a bit. It does actually go up to 5, which is pretty nice. You also get energy resistance, so you can pick 2 different types of energy, really any of the 5 typical kinds, and just be resistant 5 to them. And then eventually it'll go up to 10 at 20th level. So, I mean, that's solid. It's not the main reason you're in this class, but it's solid. You get that at 10th level, so you have to wait a little bit. And then you actually, at 12th level, get Imbue items. So this one is only useful if you take magic creation feats. But a 12th level or higher warlock who has magic item creation feats actually can make decent use of them, because they can use a use magic device check in place of knowing the actual spell that's required for the item. Which can be actually really, really beneficial. Use magic, it can make them some of the better craftsmen out there because of that. So quite a useful one if you're going that route. If you're a combatant and you don't want to actually be fighting with that, okay, fine. But for an NPC, that's great. Or if you're just trying to save money with item creation, it's a good ability to help you with that. It makes warlocks actually viable for item creation. So yeah, are they as good as like a wizard or a cleric? Maybe not. Or a druid? I would say definitely not. Wizard and probably archivist are the best item creators, but at least for base classes, I'm almost positive there's prestige classes that help out a lot with that. But warlocks are viable, and without that they would pretty much not be. So yeah, Warlocks also, another thing that I think I forgot to mention is they have an interesting little deal with some prestige classes. So Warlocks actually can qualify for some caster prestige classes. Any prestige class that says that it requires caster level whatever to get in, Warlocks qualify for, because they can use their Warlock level as their caster level to qualify for such a prestige class. And then any benefits that they get from casting progression from that class will progress their Eldritch Blast. It'll help get them to learn new invocations. It'll make their invocations more powerful. It won't do anything else. It won't give them any of the other Warlock abilities, but it will provide all of those benefits, as well as any benefits that the prestige class itself gives, of course. On top of that, although one thing to note is if the prestige class has a requirement of being able to cast like second level spells or third level spells, the Warlock will not qualify. They do not cast spells, and therefore they cannot qualify for anything like that. But if it just has a requirement of arcane caster level 5th or caster level 5th, then they're good, and they can take it, and they can gain some of the benefits from it. So that's an interesting thing to note. So that's it for that. So let's start talking about invocations. So first off, let's talk about the Eldritch Essence invocations. So and the Eldritch Shape ones. So first thing, in order to determine the caster level for your Eldritch Blast, because caster level does matter for any sort of spell save DC that any sort of DC that someone might have for certain effects that could be on that. That will matter, mostly from the Eldritch Essence or Blast. Both of them have some spell save DCs that could potentially happen. On top of that, so your caster level for that is going to be, not caster level, your spell save DC is going to be equal to either your Warlock level divided by 2 rounded down, and that'll be the spell level maximum of 9, or it's going to be equal to the invocation that you're putting on it, whichever's higher, between Eldritch Essence and Blast Shape Invocation. And you can put one of each on. You cannot put multiple of either, but you can do one of each. And I highly, highly recommend that you, as a general rule, put one of each on, because it's just a good idea to put one of each on every time. You don't have to. Even if you have them, you can choose not to use it, which would be reasons to, especially for the Blast Shape one. For the Eldritch Essence one, there's really not a lot of reason to ever not use that, because even if they're immune to the effect of the Eldritch Essence, they still get hit by the regular Eldritch Blast. So yeah, and even when you put that on, they still get hit by the Eldritch Blast for the damage. So it's quite nice. Yeah. So yeah, so with Eldritch Blast and Eldritch Invocations, we'll skip that. We'll get to that in one sec. So you are going to get Eldritch Blast every few levels. Or not Eldritch Blast. Your Eldritch Blast is going to go up, but you're going to get Invocations every few levels. It starts out like every other level, but eventually, but you do actually get 2 in a row. You get a few in a row. Like you get one at 9th level, and then you get another at 10th, and then another at 11th. So you get a little bit of a quick extra one at 10th level. But other than that, it's like every even level, I think, or I don't know. Every even level you get one, except for you also get one at like 11th, which is cool. So that's kind of nice. And every time you, every fort. So you're going to get 3 less least, and then you're going to have gain when you gain your 4th evocation, you're going to gain access to lesser. Then once you've gained 3 of those, then you'll gain access to greater. Then once you've gained 3 of those, you'll gain access to dark. Now technically you don't have to have 3 of each of those. You can get 9 least invocations and then still take 3 dark after that. But that's kind of dumb. You don't want to do that. It's best to take the highest level ones you can because they're just better in general. But you may have reasons to take 1 or 2 at a lesser level than you're allowed. So that's just a note on that. Your Eldritch Blast, that one is going to go up every other level for the first while, and then it's going to skip to every 3rd level. Once you, I think, hit like 15th level or so, it'll start going up a little bit slower. Maybe it might be a little earlier than that, but it's all in the book. It's all on table 1-1, so you can just look up that and see what your damage is. Eventually it gets to 9d6, which isn't bad, especially seeing as this is a ability that is usable at will, so you can just blast it every single turn. And especially with the essences and shapes that you can put on it, that can make it much more devastating. So you are allowed to put 1 of each. There are levels. I would recommend, like I say, getting one essence. Personally, I would say Utter Dark, which is a dark one, which is the highest level, or Noxious, which is the next highest level. Those are the 2 that really are the most devastating. So you might want to look at those 2. Grab 1 of them, ideally. Probably not both. And then for shape, Eldritch Doom is really nice. I'd look at that. Maybe Eldritch Chain, which I know is a lesser. So yeah, but you only get 3 dark, so you got to be real careful and plan this out. But those are some of the better ones. The problems with Doom is, although it does hit a ton of target, it does hit everyone within 20 feet of you every time you use Eldritch Blast with that. They do get a reflex save and for half, and if they have evasion, then it just doesn't work on them. So that's a bit of an issue. It's much easier to hit with a ranged touch attack. So Chain would be the better option for that sometimes, although less targets on that. And Eldritch Doom does let you pick and choose who you want to hit. So if there are friends in the area, then that's fine. You won't hit them with friendly fire unless you want to. So yeah. Other ones like Eldritch Spear can be decent at making your Eldritch Blast go up to 250 feet instead of 60. Eldritch Blow, if for some reason you want to make a Warlock that is a melee combatant, can be decent. So it is possible to make melee ones. It's not the best option for a Warlock, but it is doable, and probably decent with the right prestige classes and multi-classing. So I'd recommend grabbing 1 of each, maybe getting Chain and Doom. Then you have a whole bunch of other ones that you can take for other stuff, because you have 12 of them. You only spent 2 or maybe 3 on your Eldritch Blast. Then you can take, I'd recommend most of those going to passive buffs. Just gives you a fly speed of equal to your land speed, which is quite nice. Some of them can give you things like see invisibility, see in the dark. There's a lot of really good ones for visibility, for mobility. I would highly recommend looking at some of these. I'm just looking at the ones here in the Complete Arcane. There's actually a number of other source books that have evocations for warlocks, so I would take a look at all of those. There's nothing in the spell compendium, but there are a number of books that have stuff. I forget the list off the top of my head, but hopefully someone will let me know in the comments and I can pin that. So, yeah, that's basically Invocations. So, finally, we're going to talk about how good this build is. I know this is a long video. Warlock is a really, really dense class. There's so much to talk about with this one. It's so different than everything else. Is it good? Yeah, it's pretty good. Now, the book says that they serve the role of the wizard. Not really. Not really at all. Their role is much more akin to that of the fighter. However, they are very much magic based for sure. Now, they're not going to be a front range tank fighter typically. They have a D6 hit dice, so not exactly ideal for that. And they only have an average base attack bonus. But that Eldritch Blast does give them some pretty decent attack options. On top of that, they are able to, fight. They are able to do some decent stuff. Actually, I was thinking about it. This might actually pair well with Rogue. Yeah, in order to get in order to do sneak attack. That might not be terrible, or some other stuff. Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, there's some really good things. A lot of potential for this class to be used in a million different builds. It's just a solid class all in all. It's a weird one too. So it's going to take a little bit of finagling to fit into builds. And things are going to have to very much be built specifically with Warlock in mind in order to make it work, since it's so different than everything else. But it is a really good class. Yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Maybe give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel for more D&D 3.5 content, because we do one of these videos on every class, race, and prestige class in Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. So ring that notification bell so you never miss out on a video. Anyways, as always, I'm Mitch. Seeing ya.